Friends, we are live. CFLW, the show for this Monday, October the 6th. I hope you guys are doing well. As always, I feel like there's a lot to get into here. We're going to be talking about more significant rain moving into Central Florida right now, what has already fallen, what is likely to occur the remainder of this Monday, and how long it's going to last. So this is kind of a special edition of CFLW, the show. We're not just talking about forecasting and planning things out over the next couple days. We got to talk about some impacts here and now across Central Florida. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and joining me for the live version of CFLW, the show. As always, it is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Friends, they cover the entire state, so if you're viewing from the Panhandle down to the Keys, they can walk you through the insurance claim process. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. You literally have nothing to lose by going to leanomnilaw.com if you guys would like more information. So this is one of those important days. I told you guys the reason why I do this is I love the interaction. I love talking with you guys in chat, letting me know what's going on. But this is important. If you have seen any flooding in your area since Friday, please let me know in the comments section below. We've had areas of significant rain. We've had some areas of flooding. If you happen to live along the coastline and you've had some inundation of water from the high tide cycles, again, it's just a great thing for everyone to be aware of what's been happening across the area. I think in my neighborhood, it's very similar to what a lot of you have probably seen. There's been some minor street flooding, some neighborhood flooding. Those low-lying areas that collect the water first have typically had some water, nothing significant, haven't gotten into the having to drain the pool situation. But since Friday, it has been very wet across the area. And generally speaking, the farther east that you live, the wetter it has been. And, you know, right now, just before I came on the air, the Weather Service office in Melbourne has just issued a new flash flood warning. So this literally just popped up. As you note, it's going to go for 2 hours. So it started at 1 o'clock, goes until 3 o'clock. But it's an indication of the fact that we're not out of the woods yet, that today we still have significant heavy rain and some flooding likely to occur in portions of Central Florida. Obviously, this is going to be mainly for Brevard County. Let me give you the details on that. So again, we have a new flash flood warning. Now, flash flooding is the highest criteria. It means that we have significant flooding that is already occurring or is going to imminently occur. This is for northwestern Brevard County until 3 o'clock. Doppler radar indicating that 2.5 to 4 inches of rain have already fallen. Again, this is just as of this morning. Doesn't even include anything that's fallen over the weekend. An additional 1 to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or is expected to begin shortly. That's the definition of a flash flood warning, that last sentence, okay? So, hazards: flash flooding caused by thunderstorms, flash flooding of small creeks, streams, urban areas, highways, streets and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage areas and low-lying areas likely to see some of that flash flooding. Here's some of the areas that could be impacted. Our friends in Titusville, Mims, the Titusville Airport, Port St. John, Sharps, LaGrange, Bellwood, Turnbull, and Arantia. That's a new one to me, Arantia, if you guys know that area in northwest Brevard County. Obviously some smaller areas here, but some of the bigger areas: Mims, Titusville, Indian River City, Port St. John, Sharps, all included in this flash flood warning over the last 3 hours. Again, one of the newer products I can show you guys is we can go over here and look at, so that's the live radar out of Melbourne, but I'm going to drop off that and bring on this data. And I'm going to get to the chat here in just a second, guys, I promise you, but I needed to get this out of the way first. So if we look at precip amounts over the last 6 hours, so this is going to pop on. So this is the Doppler potential rainfall, if you will, or what is likely to have fallen in this area in the last 3 hours. So, you know, I think it was 2 to 4 that the Weather Service was talking about. And so we have some of that reported in this area, especially over Titusville and Indian River City. Again, in the last 6 hours, we've had about 3+ inches of rain. Doppler estimated, you know, here's another spot here, you know, near the intercoastal and, you know, Banana and Indian Rivers, you know, that has, again, been punching up. So significant rain has moved into northern Brevard County. Some of that has streamed into portions of inland Volusia, into Seminole counties, and the far eastern sides of Orange County. But again, it is these areas here. So this is the rain that has fallen from Doppler estimates in the last 3 hours. That's why we have the flash flood warning. If I take that data off and we look at what's falling right now. So this is the actual precipitation rates. So let me do this real quick too. I want to take off those polygons so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. So first of all, you notice that it's not just rain. We've got lightning. We've got deep, heavy convection falling over portions of Merritt Island and moving back into this area. And again, everything is moving from east to west. So we've already had 3+ inches of rain in places like Titusville and Indian River City. And now you've got another really strong thunderstorm with heavy rain that's approaching the area. And the rainfall rates with this are over 5 inches an hour. So again, this thunderstorm is moving. It's not going to dump 5 inches of rain in one spot, but you get the idea that the heavy rain that is occurring right now with this thunderstorm going into areas that are already seeing some flash flooding. So this is a significant developing situation, especially for, I'm going to say, the Titusville, Indian River City areas right here. Maybe a little bit as far north as Mims and as far south as Port St. John and Sharps. But that is a significant thunderstorm with some extremely high rainfall rates that are moving into that area that is already under the flash flood warning. I'll show you this on Doppler radar. So let me come over here and take off that data. So this is your live radar out of the Melbourne area. And again, just blankets of heavy rain and some lightning. Now, as far as movement goes, again, the forward speed is fast. So we're not going to have these storms directly over the area for a length of time, but still 5-inch-per-hour rainfall rates is going to be some problems. So that's the biggest issue across Central Florida at the hour at 1 o'clock. Flash flooding ongoing in northwest Brevard County, including Titusville, Port St. John, Sharps, and Mims area. And again, it's going to last for a while, all the way until 3 o'clock. Flash flood warnings are shorter duration, but to have a flash flood warning that is issued for 2 hours is pretty significant. Okay, let's jump over to the chat. Great to hear you guys. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Brady. How are you? Hi, Diane. Good to see you as well. It's pouring on and off in Kissimmee. And man, oh man, is that a very common theme here across Central Florida. Again, we talked about it on Friday's show, ran the radar on Saturday when we really had the significant showers and storms coming in. This is a cumulative effect, guys, right? We started with the heavy rain Friday. We had some localized flooding in a couple of spots then, but now the totality of this rain, which is going to exceed a ½ foot in so many areas and punching close to 10 inches in a couple of spots between what has occurred since Friday afternoon up until later on this evening, significant, flooding in some spots with some of this activity. Hi, Diane. So good to see you. Hi, Nancy. How you doing? Good afternoon from Wedgefield, 73 degrees with a 99% humidity. That is also pretty common as well. Looks like I need to pump out the rain out of the pool. I got you, man. I think a lot of folks are in that same situation. I'm just below that right now, but if I get one more good thunderstorm, I'm going to be doing some, draining of the pool myself. I'm with you on that. Hi, Chessie. How you doing? Spring Hill in the house, partly cloudy skies, getting some showers in the area, breezy and very humid. Just like we've talked about, the highest concentration of rain is going to be off towards the east, but even in our western areas, we're going to have some fast-moving showers. Same situation. These showers are going to be moving very quickly. The breeze is going to be significant. I'm telling you right now, guys, since Friday, we've basically had tropical depression conditions, teetering on tropical storm conditions across Central Florida, right? We just haven't had an organized tropical system off of our East Coast, but we've had those kinds of issues, especially tropical depression issues, right? You just got to get winds up to around 34 miles an hour. We've had that from time to time. They haven't been consistent enough, and we don't have a true system out there, but appreciably, you have felt low-end tropical depression / tropical storm conditions in Central Florida since Friday, and it's the cumulative effect, again, 4 days in a row of this kind of stuff. Hey, Blue Ghost, how you doing, my friend? St. Augustine in the house at 85 degrees with 80% humidity. All right. Hi, Farah. Good to see you jump into the chat as well. I hope you're doing well. Hey, Tay, how you doing? Sunshine State isn't living up to its name this past week. Haven't had a single day where it hasn't rained here in Deltona. I'm with you on that. We have had a very wet pattern. It can be very wet in October. right? A couple of different reasons it can be very wet in October. First of all, we are still very active tropically, and we can get tropical systems to develop. And then we start to see these fronts work their way farther south again this time of the year, stalling out, providing an opportunity for additional heavy rain to form along them. And we have had both of those things. Again, we have this trough line, and we have a stationary boundary just to the north that feeds the atmosphere. By the way, look at that wind in New Orleans. 60-mile-an-hour wind for today. There you go. There was a non-tropical low in the north central Gulf as well. So Friday when I saw you guys, I think we still had a 10% chance with this spot, which became nothing ultimately, right? And then the Hurricane Center put a 0% chance on the area just off of the shoreline of New Orleans, but they also mentioned that, you know, it could bring some very gusty conditions. And you can see that. Obviously I have access to the oil platform data. We've got buoy data out here as well. But, you know, if that is a true number, that New Orleans just had a 60-mile-an-hour wind, there you go. Anyway, so they've been feeding in a lot of rich tropical moisture. So we still have, let's be clear, we still have this broad area east of the Bahamas. There's so much upper level wind shear, it's never going to develop, but it is still moisture laden air. And because it's situated south and east of us, and we have a kind of general counterclockwise spin to it here. Let me bring on this GOES data. And we have this general counterclockwise spin to it. So if I put on the surface winds, those should pop on momentarily. There we go. Everything is still onshore. All of this wind is still an onshore wind, and it's been that way since Friday. And that's why we've had the elevated surf and sea conditions. We've had 1 to 2 foot and even 1 to 3 foot over the weekend above normal tide cycle. So inundation of docks and, you know, some backyards and just some areas that kind of flood when you get that kind of, you know, higher tide cycle. But we've had moderate beach erosion and dune erosion. We've had 5 to 8 foot breakers out there. We've had double-digit wave heights towards the Gulf Stream. It's been very significant. And again, these winds are still quite fresh right now at this point in time as well. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Good to see you. So Tate just said, everyone needs to be careful. Car just crashed in the interstate near my exit. People drive too carelessly in this rain. Absolutely. It's a problem, you know, hydroplaning and just going faster and then what the weather conditions are going to allow you. Unfortunately, I've screamed that ever since I've been a meteorologist, and it's hard to get that in through people's heads. I mean, hopefully, you know, by screaming at the top of your lungs, it does some good, but you still see folks driving too quickly. But obviously the roads are going to be wet. I-95 especially, portions of I-4. Scattered heavy rain is still likely over portions of I-75. If you live in the Tampa area today, it's not going to be as concentrated, but there'll still be some good downpours. And there's more lightning as well. There's more instability overall. Friday, we had virtually no lightning. We've had some good lightning the last couple of afternoons, and it's re-energizing itself again today as well. So of course, we have our live cameras here at CFLW. I never like to go too far without showing you those. This is a live look to Winter Garden. This is on the western side of Orange County. Now again, we're looking west, so we're looking away from where the storm development is. We've had a couple of passing showers in western Orange County, but it's mainly been about the breeze for today. And by the way, you'll always see your live information scroll across the bottom of your screen. We've got a ton of cities here in Central Florida with that data that is live updating data. So you can always see that there at that bottom ticker, as we call it. So again, live look outside to Winter Garden. We go over to our other winter, which is Winter Park. This is again in Orange County. This is the lean log cam. Let me get back. Don't do that. I want to put myself on camera. Lean log cam from Winter Park. We are looking east. You can see the rain is falling again as another squall begins to move into the area. So probably as we watch this camera during this live stream over the next 15 to 20 minutes, we're likely to see the breeze pick up, and we're likely to see this squall work its way in. Again, we're looking east to where everything is headed. Now, I previewed what is the most ominous looking shot right now, and that's the live look outside to Conway. Now, certainly the rain, as it's tried to work its way deeper into Orange County, it's fizzled a bit. I mean, the most prominent heavy rain is going to stay near the immediate coast. The rain fades a touch, but there is still likely to be some significant downpours, a lot of rich tropical moisture in play in Central Florida today to swing their way through the Orange County, Seminole County, Volusia, portions of Osceola and Polk County areas here, you know, and again, a little bit more scattered in nature, but that's a good wall of tropical moisture that is going to be moving in, and you can already see that the winds have freshened up. Many locations, even outside of where we have the rain falling right now, you're going to easily have 15 to 30 mile-an-hour winds, and gusts along the coastline could punch even higher than that, maybe as high as 40. I don't think we're going to get a lot of 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts for today, but it's not out of the question. Again, and really, we're just seeing the afternoon convection begin to crank up. It's just gotten, you know, more active throughout this Monday, or haven't even hit the crescendo yet, if you will. Live luck outside to the attractions. It is going to be another wet day. A few lightning strikes here or there. If you are headed to the attractions, if you're an attractions worker, please make sure that you just stay weather aware. Going to be an issue here from time to time. It's not a washout, right? It's not one of those situations, but if you're heading to the attractions later, I'd have the ponchos. Now, if you like to head to the fireworks displays later tonight, more than likely most of the rain will have settled down by then. But just like yesterday in central areas, we got some good thunderstorm activity in the early afternoon, right? And then it kind of was just a blanket of light to moderate rain for hours after that, which could still linger towards sunset in many locations. So let me break down the overall potential impacts. Now, I showed you this graphic on Friday for the weekend. Obviously, I've updated it, but here's the problem. I haven't had to do as many edits as you might think just to talk about the impacts for today, right? So Friday's show, we were talking about Friday and the weekend's impacts. I haven't had to change a lot of these numbers. First of all, we're still likely to see localized flooding. And again, the flash flood warning in Brevard County is an indication of that, especially near the East Coast. Rainfall along the East Coast should average just today 1 to 2 inches. But again, locally 2 to 4, and that might be conservative because we've already had nearly 3 or 4 inches of rain in Titusville, and we're going to get at least an additional 1 to 2. You are going to see some areas that, you know, on the extreme, could be hitting 5, 6+ inches of rain just for today. Obviously, that's going to come with a set of problems. Inland today, it's 0.5 to 1.5 inches of rain on average. Generally speaking, again, the farther east that you live, the better chance you have to be on the higher part of that range. You live farther west, you're going to likely be on the lower part, but there are some exceptions to that, of course. Winds will be out of the east, 15 to 25. We're going to get some gusts, 30 plus from time to time. In the seas and the overall surf and rip current risk conditions, they haven't changed. Seas near shore are still getting 7 to 9 foot, seas near shore 7 to 9 feet. Offshore, they're 8 to 10. It was 8 to 10 and 10 to 12 on Friday. So the seas have barely relaxed over the weekend. We're still getting 5 to 7 foot breakers along the coastline. Moderate beach and dune erosion can still occur, mainly during the high tide cycles, and especially the inundation of some of the low-lying areas as well. High tides, at least through today, are expected to average 1 to 2 feet above normal. Let me be clear. This should be the last worst day. I do expect conditions to begin to improve tomorrow, but it is a gradual process. It's not like we're just going to snap a finger and we get back into the calm conditions and all the sunshine. But as far as the persistent winds and the heavy rainfall leading to some flooding, that activity is likely to begin to diminish starting tomorrow. But we got to get through today first, my friends, no doubt about it. Let me jump back into the chat. Yes, Blue Goose and Farah, thank you for telling everyone to do that. You too as well, Brady. Thank you so much. Hit that smash the like button, as the kids say. Thank you for subscribing to the channel if you guys haven't done it as of yet. Both of those things help the channel out more than you think. Simply taking a second and hitting the like button. And if you're watching, if you haven't subscribed and you want these live updates, again, this is a live only channel, not going to be doing video updates. I come on every Monday and Friday so we can, you know, stay in constant contact, as I like to say, and talk about the forecast. But otherwise, you're only going to see me when there's impactful weather here across Central Florida. That could be a tropical system, that could be our daily sea breeze showers and storms, and that could be some kind of a hybrid like this where we're getting tropical impacts without a tropical system, but some very heavy rain. So appreciate all of that for you guys. Obviously, there are other ways to support the channel, and you guys have seen that as well. People have asked about subscriptions. We'll talk about that, or memberships, that is. We'll talk about that coming up as well. Hey, William, how you doing? Flash flood warning for Melbourne. Yes, indeed, William. We have we highlighted that earlier in the day at the beginning of the live stream. We do have a flash flood warning for Mims, Titusville, Indian River City, Port St. John, some of the areas you see on your screen. 2-hour flash flood warning. Started at 1 o'clock, goes all the way till 3. Got my Publix Diet Green Tea in my Lean Law tumbler, ready to go. But, oh yeah, well, it doesn't really matter as well. It's really cool. The memberships, which again, we don't have the channel here, but we have it over on Media Mundo, for over 2 years, and probably before that, but when I, started the channels, they weren't available on iOS devices. You couldn't become a member through an iPhone or an iPad, but that has gone away, and now you can. So hopefully, we'll get our memberships up and running. If you guys want to support the channel that way, or over on Media Mundo as well. All right, so let's talk about how the rest of the day is going to play out. I think you guys have a pretty good idea already. First of all, again, the risk for excessive rain still in the areas in green, and this is probably, they issued this forecast this morning, and they haven't updated it because I'd obviously put on the second ring here in Brevard County because we're already getting some flash flooding here. But you get the idea that from St. Augustine all the way down to Miami and Homestead, there is an opportunity across the East Coast to exceed flash flood criteria, and then some inland areas as well. It's all of Flagler, most of St. John's, some of Putnam, most of Volusia, all of Volusia, the northeast side of Lake, all of Cibolo County, most of Orange outside the far western and southwest sides, most of Osceola County, all of Brevard, all of Indian River County, that could fall under flash flood warnings, right? Lower chance the farther inland that you go, but it's not out of the question. So that's what that graphic shows you, is a 5 to 10% chance of exceeding flash flood criteria in those areas. When we look at tomorrow, it's basically gone from here, right? Still could see some excessive rain West Palm back down towards Miami and the Upper Keys, but our area does begin to dry out. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have some areas of excessive rainfall again for tomorrow, but it's just not going to be as widespread, right? Again, conditions begin to improve starting on your Tuesday. So this is going to be the first time in 5 days that we haven't had some kind of excessive rainfall outlook for our area. Also want to talk to you guys about the drought. That has pretty much gone away. We still have some spots that are slightly drier, anywhere from Palm Coast down into Indian River County, and most of the I-4 corridor, not even considered to be abnormally dry. We've caught up. On average, we've done really well. There are still some spots which are abnormally dry, and that's in yellow. That's not a drought. It's just areas that are teetering on potential drought conditions. But actually, obviously, everything has just gotten better because not that long ago, these areas were under droughts. They were under the areas in brown, right? The slight drought, but conditions are improving. So you've actually gone from slight drought conditions to just being abnormally dry. But that still includes Ocala and the Villages and all of Citrus and Hernando counties and most of Pasco and all of Pinellas and some of Hillsborough and some of Manatee and all of Sarasota County. So you get the idea that western areas are still dry. They could still use some rain. I wish it was flipped, where the western areas were getting the most rainfall here over the past 3 or 4 days. But the rain overall has done some good. Now, there's still some drought in the state, especially up towards I-10 corridor and into the Panhandle. Jacksonville is considered to be abnormally dry, but this looks a lot better than what it did earlier in the summer. Hey Kish, how you doing? Hope things are well for you. Kish says, feel like Pasco's been stuck in a drought for a long time now. Again, technically not a drought, but drier than normal, I think is the easiest way to say it. And it really depends. Look, 4 inches of rain in 1 day is not going to help you out as much as 4 inches of rain spread out over 7 days, right? The soil can't absorb it all, so there's more runoff when you have the persistent heavier rains. You want just that nice, steady, moderate rain over a longer period of time. That gets into the soil. That really helps things out a lot more than just these, deluges that we've been getting. So there is a quality to the rain, if you will, that falls with that. It's not just it's not 100% just the number. Again, if you get 8 inches of rain in 1 day and you don't see rain for 2 weeks, that's not going to help you nearly as much as spreading that out over a longer period of time. All right. So again, we're back over to our live radar here at CFLW. It is amazing to see all of the winds. These are all wind gusts, and it doesn't really matter. Daytona Beach, Flagler County, Brevard County, Seminole, Orange, all the way over to Citrus County, We've had wind gusts right around 30 miles an hour in just the last hour. Extremely breezy conditions here. Still have some strong winds up north. Still have some strong winds out down south as well. Let me show you guys the visible sat rad here. Temperatures, by the way, you see them on the bottom of your screen. They're going to be rain cooled all day. Now, look, I can't do anything about the humidity. That is still stinking high out there. It still does not feel fantastic. I have to laugh a little bit. The person who I'm talking about is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And so I'm not going to call them out by name, but let me try and break this down. My son is in a soccer league, and person always gives kind of like a heads up for the overall, like, here's what's happening this week, and all the games are on Saturdays. And Saturday, he said, be prepared, it's going to be wet and cold. And I was just like, wet, yes. Cold, I don't know about that, you know. Unfortunately, the rain got the game got rained out anyway. But just the fact that you use wet and cold, I was like, I might email him and be like, do you want me to send out the weather update? Because I didn't want people like showing up in jackets, you know, because it was still going to be like 84 degrees with all the humidity in the world. And when it wasn't raining, it was going to be overcast. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I mean, is it cool, if you will, by October standards? Maybe slightly, but the humidity is still there. So, all right, here you go. Still have this spin out here. Again, not tropical. I have the tropical layer on, right? You can actually see that they've highlighted a little area in the Southwest Gulf. That is nothing to monitor here. I've got the high res data on, so you're not going to see it out in the Atlantic, but you know, we have this other area in red, which is likely to develop. I'll cover that over on the Media Mundo channel, but this is still persistent onshore flow that'll be sticking around for, again, through today and beginning to break apart a little bit starting tomorrow. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you guys the models, and then we'll get into your city by city forecasts. We'll go over here to the HRRR model first. Let's see, there we go. I know I have it preloaded, so we should be good to go here. All right, so let's bring that up, bring up our model timeline. It is relative, Tay, but I mean, you know, relative. Kish, does elevation make a difference? I mean, not in Florida. We don't have enough elevation to cause really any big issues. Obviously, water is going to collect in lower areas, but for drought conditions like this, no, elevation doesn't really matter. Yeah, wishful thinking, I would say there, Blue Goose. It just caught me by surprise, right? Because I'm just glancing over this email, which he sends every week, just to make sure that there wasn't an update that we needed to know, like, you know, jersey change or, you know, time change or anything. And you're just like, and it's just like, hey, by the way, the weather's gonna be wet and cold this Saturday. I'm like, wait, what? So anyway, but it is relative. Trust me, my parents would tell you that too, as they enjoy their jackets, indeed. All right. So here you go, right? We're still going to stay with the east winds. Everything is still going to be coming from east to west the remainder of the early part of this week. But we just start to see things begin to break apart a bit beginning tomorrow. So certainly wetter, still some passing showers, still some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, it's not completely dry. So here, let's break it down. Again, the remainder of today. Now, the HRRR model, again, you know, continues. Some of the activity that's moving inland right now, the HRRR model continues to develop and makes more potent in the next hour or two. So if you live in Sanford or Orlando or Claremont or Kissimmee, even west towards Lakeland and I-75, the villages included in this, still the opportunity for some good thunderstorm activity in the meat of the afternoon hours. As a matter of fact, on the HRRR model, some of the most striking activity is actually in the western half of the area. And they might be discounting a little bit what's happening right now in Brevard County, but you get the idea that we could still pull some significant rain and storms even along the west coast. So Crystal River, back down towards Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa areas, Bradenton, Sarasota could still be in store for some significant storms later today. As we get towards the late afternoon and early evening, I think we fall into the same pattern as what we've had. So again, last couple of afternoons, localized thunderstorms and really heavy rain through mid to late afternoon, beginning around 5 or 6 o'clock, all that activity kind of winds down a little bit. And then we have this very extensive veil of light to moderate rain. It's just very persistent. It can still aid in flooding, but it's just not the convective nature of some of the activity we have earlier in the afternoon, and it begins to fade overall right around sunset. I think this is an extremely plausible scenario given what we've seen, what I expect in the environment for today. Still could see a few onshore showers even during the overnight hours, but it's much weaker in nature and not nearly as widespread. And again, we wake up tomorrow morning, a couple of showers out there, again, especially towards the coast. Don't be shocked if you live in Indian River or Brevard counties if there's, again, a few passing showers quickly racing in. All of these showers should be moving east 30 to 35 miles an hour until they really begin to develop a lot of lightning, and then they might slow down just a little bit as well. Just a little bit more convective nature things can kind of put the brakes on some of that. But as we get into tomorrow, again, we're still going to have some rain, but it's just not as widespread, right? Still some convection, still some heavier pockets of storms, but it's beginning to break apart a little bit. And so we're looking better overall tomorrow because we do need some drier weather back into place. And then let's see here, hit the wrong button. So then as we go through the rest of our Tuesday, things quiet down quicker, and we'll start off Wednesday on the drier side. And Wednesday actually could be the driest of the next 3 days. We have moderate chances Tuesday and Thursday, and then drier conditions on Wednesday. But after a little bit of a bump up in the rain on Thursday, I do expect us to get into a pattern through most of the end of the week and into this weekend that will be drier than normal. Still not completely dry, even as we get into, early to mid-October-ish. That is typically not the case. Sea breeze activity is still something that is with us, typically at least until the beginning of November. All right, so let me show you guys the GFS model real quickly as well here. Then we'll look at rainfall totals. I forgot to do that, but we'll get back into that. So let me bring up the GFS. Let's see, today's the 6th. I'm just going to go out to the 10th till Friday. Loop that up. Again, not as high resolution of a model, but you get an idea. Today's pattern looks to leave Northeast Florida rather dry. Yeah, moisture content is a little bit higher south of you there, Blue Goose, no doubt about it. So again, this is basically the week ahead, and you can see that we're beginning to dry things out a bit. Now there is another frontal system that is going to sag back into the area beginning Friday and into the weekend. However, it looks like the most persistent activity is going to be to the north. I'm stopping it here because do you guys see what I'm seeing? Yeah, the models are beginning to hint at some kind of a hybrid potential subtropical system trying to develop off of our East Coast or the East Coast of the United States in general, starting on Friday over the weekend. And I'm going to extend this out now that I showed you that through the weekend. Now this should be moving away from our area, sliding up the U.S. East Coast. But as I show you this, you can clearly see the spin developing. So this is likely to be Jerry, okay? The J-name storm in the Atlantic hurricane season. Remember we had Imelda? Right now, I want to be clear. The models are still really all over the place with this Invest 95L. It looks to have absolutely no impacts to us except, again, just like Aaron and Umberto and Imelda, throwing a lot of wave action into the Western Atlantic Basin, okay? But that recurve scenario well away from our East Coast is likely with what is likely to be Jerry. This could actually be the K-name storm of the season. Remember, even subtropical storms get names, and that means it's not a truly warm chord low, right? Coming off of a cold front in October and then developing, but that could be Karen, right? So we could actually have the K-name storm this weekend moving up our East Coast, developing off of this boundary that comes into play. For us, we are likely to be a little bit too far south, and the reason why we should be drier overall this weekend is because what could be Karen pulls all the moisture with it, and we actually get some drier air to get sucked in behind the storm, right? So if this plays out like the GFS model is showing right now, and the development is east of us, and it's likely to pull away, this is the cause for us to get into some drier air. Now, obviously on Friday's show, we'll be hammering out the scenarios with this. We'll see if the models still hold it together. We'll see if it's something that's still going to impact us. If this doesn't develop, we're actually likely to have a wetter weekend, okay? So I'm counting in the fact that we will likely get some drier air being pulled in behind the storm to dry us out for the weekend ahead. But we'll see how it plays out. But again, we could absolutely get Jerry in the Atlantic Basin in a day or two, and then this could be Karen over the weekend. And then we'll just have to see about this one, because this is a brand new one here. You know, the models have been hinting on potential activity in the Northwest Caribbean for a while. And I want to be clear, and I mentioned this in Friday's show as well. I expect the rest of October to be tropically active. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are in store for any kind of direct impacts, but just to get more areas of development potential, to get more named storms, especially over like the next 20 days, next 3 weeks or so. I think we're in store for a pretty active pattern. But down the road, just like this, and maybe with Karen, more activity developing closer to home is also likely into the cards, okay? And obviously, if there's anything that I have any concerns about tropically for our area, we'll continue to highlight this here on the channel. But again, just showing you that loop, we do dry out some over the weekend, thanks to Karen. And so again, starting Thursday and into Friday, our rain chances overall should start to come down if that plays out. But we got some time to monitor it. So this is what it looks like for you guys, city by city. We'll start off in Orlando. 40% chance for storms tomorrow. And again, some convection, some locally heavy rain. Watch out for the lightning as well. 88 the daytime high. Morning lows only in the mid-70s. It's still going to be steamy. Temperatures don't change much. They rarely do this time of the year. But we're a little bit drier on Wednesday. Just a 30% chance for an isolated shower storm. There's your bump up on Thursday for one day to a 50% chance. A daytime high of 87. Again, if it plays out the way I expect right now, beginning on Friday through the weekend, our rain chances will come back down, but we'll talk much more about that on Friday's show. In Daytona Beach, showers, still breezy tomorrow. The wind is not going to go much lower tomorrow. I think we're still consistent 15 to 25 with gusts over 30. It'll come down a notch on Wednesday, maybe 10 to 20 with gusts up to 25 or 30. And then we should have lighter winds on Thursday. But these are still going to be all onshore winds. So there could still continue to be additional issues along the coastline. The rip current risk should be very elevated. We should continue to have some high breakers and some, locally higher than normal tides. But hopefully that begins to alleviate itself for the next day or two as well. 40 tomorrow. Mainly dry and breezy Wednesday, and then a 50% chance for showers and storms on Thursday, and a high of 84. Just a little bit drier overall along the West Coast. Nothing that has caught my eye outside of just kind of local convection developing, with the showers moving in from east to west, and we could get a few storms right along the West Coast as well. So for St. Pete, I've got a 30% chance for storms in. This is a much more, kind of homogeneous forecast. Things don't really change much in the next couple of days. Still drier than normal, but a few storms are out there. Daytime highs in the upper 80s, morning lows in the mid 70s. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater area, about a 30% chance for storms. And again, showing you this graphic one more time, localized flooding, especially along the East Coast today, right? This graphic is just for today, with the conditions improving tomorrow, 1 to 2 inches along the East Coast, but we've already had some spots nearly at 4 inches, so we know that we're going to be busting through that upper echelon in a few areas. Inland, we're averaging a ½ inch to 1.5. Generally, the farther east that you go, the wetter it's going to be. Winds east 15 to 25, gusts over 30, persistent onshore winds. It's kicked up the seas to 7 to 9 feet. We'll look at the advisories as well. Small craft advisories, RIPS current statements, coastal flood warnings, all that kind of stuff. Seas near shore 7 to 9, offshore 8 to 10, 5 to 7 foot breakers, moderate beach and dune erosion, and above normal tides of around 1 to 2 feet. So I told you guys I wanted to show you the rainfall potential totals. So before we move on, let me do that. If we look at the GFS model over the next 5 days, probably the easiest way for me to do this, you can clearly see it's a lot drier. Now, I think the GFS is undercutting it, but you get the idea that it's along the East Coast and especially south with the highest rain totals. And that would be a few more inches of rain in a couple of spots. But that, to me, is underdoing the amount. If I go over here to the HRRR, again, our higher resolution model, bring up total precip, and then go out. And again, this is, oh, hello. Let's try that again. HRRR, total precip. And this is just going to take us out to Wednesday morning, right? to Wednesday morning. So what's interesting is that the HRRR favors some of the convection, right? Some of the thunderstorm activity inland. I mean, again, this is starting now through Wednesday morning. Are we going to get 6 inches of rain in the Claremont area of Lake County? Probably not, right? But is that number a plausible scenario somewhere in interior Central Florida? Yes, it's a possibility, right? It's the outer band of the extreme, but locally heavy downpours are likely to cause that. Now, it's completely underdoing the amount of rain that we've already seen here. And again, I want to be clear, this is not taking into account anything that's already fallen. It just says that starting now, Brevard County gets less than an inch of rain. Maybe if the last deep convection is what's rolling through right now, right? You know, we can't completely discount the fact that the last gasp of heaviest rain in Brevard County is occurring as we speak, and between now and Wednesday morning, additionally, they only get 1 to 2 inches, but it's probably underdoing it a bit. But I think what's interesting about this model is that the storms that are developing right now, and that could redevelop again tomorrow afternoon, could potentially push the highest totals inland more. So we'll see how that plays out, right? You know, with Ocala getting 3 inches of rain and portions of Sumter County and Lake Pan and the Villages 2, 3, 4 inches, and you know, even down into Polk County as well. So it's an interesting scenario. And look at all that heavy rain there up the Nature Coast and into the Big Bend. All right. Yes, I wanted to show you guys. Let me go back over to the radar here real quick. I want to check in on a couple of things here. First of all, let's dump off that. Let's clear that. It looks like they let the flash flood warning expire unless I don't have it on. I don't have it on. All right. It's still there. I figured typically they don't expire flash flood warnings early. Those are severe thunderstorm tornado warnings. So again, we still have this flash flood warning for the next hour and 15 minutes. We still have some locally heavy rainfall falling there. And again, notice how widespread it already is, right? We're not getting a lot of localized cells with heavier rain. Also notice this fetch of moisture here. Again, everything is moving east to west. So basically you just have this strung out area of moisture through portions of Flagler County and into Putnam and Marion and Levy counties, just in this really solid east to west line. Then you have a much larger batch of more moderate to at times heavy rain that is basically, you know, encompassing most of Volusia County, south of Daytona Beach. It's getting into portions of Lake County. It's getting into portions of Seminole County. So Orange City and Deltona and Sanford. The rain is beginning to pick up at the hour over Oviedo and Winter Springs. So if you live northern and eastern sides of Metro Orlando, the rain is picking up. It's going to be more consistent. Notice again that everything is just kind of, you know, working its way west, but it's fading a bit as it does so. But we're likely to get some deeper convection developing here in the next hour or two. Still some very locally heavy rain over portions of Brevard County. Here's Merritt Island with the flood warning for Mims and Titusville and Indian River City, Port St. John. Locally heavy rain has also fallen south sides here. So southern Merritt Island, Vieira, Suntree, Satellite Beach. Nice heavy rain right over Melbourne, June Park, O'Galley, Melbourne Village, West Melbourne, in the Atlantic, all the Melbournes, Melbourne Beach, Melbourne Beach. If you live at the beach, the west or the village of Melbourne, you've had some heavier rain. Same thing for June Park, O'Galley, Palm Bay. Just to the north of Malabar, we've had some good showers over Grant, Valkyria as well. And again, everything is working its way from east to west. If I zoom out the radar, there are still copious amounts of rain still to come in. We are in store for a wet remainder of our Monday afternoon and into the early evening hours. Scattered showers through portions of Hernando, Pasco, and into Hillsborough counties, from Zephyr Hills to Land O'Lakes, Carrollwood, Town and Country, Tampa, just north of Brandon, and Seffner and Dover. A couple of light showers just west of Spring Hill. Chris River, Homosassa there, just had a brief shower move through their area. It's a wet afternoon, my friends. That's not going to change. Blue Goose says, my camera's showing some light rain right now in Cocoa. There you go. Hey, Samuel, how you doing? Grand Bahama in the house. Still kind of windy, seas a little bit choppy. Yeah, my friend, that system has basically just sat over your area, you know, still kicking up the sea conditions and still spraying in some rain and wind, just like we're seeing here in Central Florida. Appreciate you guys tuning in there from Grand Bahama. All right, let's go back to our cameras. Take a look at those. So you can clearly see, And I told you that things would change between the beginning and the end of this live stream. Live look outside to Orange County, Winter Garden, looking west. We already have those deepening, darkening clouds, a lot more tropical moisture coming back in. Now again, a little bit more turbulence in the atmosphere right now, and it's kind of like the opening credits to Star Wars. All of these clouds are kind of moving away from the camera, so if you look at the top of your screen, you're going to see those clouds racing through. Remember, our showers and isolated thunderstorms are moving at 30 to 35 miles an hour, so clearly just from this live camera, you can see this. So, you know, if you live in Lake County, this is what's headed your way right now, just a good veil of darker clouds. This is Winter Park, and again, you know, you can just see the wind is picking up a little bit, as we've mentioned. Look how fast those clouds are racing into the Winter Park camera here, the lean log cam in Winter Park. Again, beautiful shot there. Just a little bit of rain falling right now. The rain is not extremely heavy, but that has some fast moving activity right now. Those clouds just racing across that camera. Here is Conway, and here you go. This is easily some 30-mile-an-hour winds here, gusting from time to time, 15 to 25 steady. Rain kind of lashing across portions of Conway and the southeast sides of Orange County, and just those dark clouds out there to the east. Again, this camera is looking east towards the East Coast, where we continue to see some pretty solid rain in those areas. And it's an overcast sky right now in the attractions area. Again, live look outside here towards Lake Buena Vista. The Magic Kingdom is just a mile from this camera. So, you know, Magic Kingdom and Epcot and the Universal properties and even SeaWorld and iDrive kind of within this view. Always monitor this situation in this area closely, as we know a lot of folks are outside here in this part of Central Florida at all times of the day. Hi, Amy. How you doing? Feeling lucky there in Ormond Beach. So, Amy, why are you feeling lucky? That you've avoided the worst weather, or that you've had the rain that you've needed and you haven't had a lot of it, right? Because I asked that at the beginning of the stream. I said, let me guys know if you've seen some flooding in your area. I myself have had, I think, what a lot of you have had, and that's just the kind of local little bit of street flooding, the neighborhood streets getting a little bit, you know, the road just outside the neighborhood in the low-lying areas getting a little bit of flooding, but nothing significant yet here. But again, we have this flash flood warning for portions of Brevard County for very good reasons. All right, let's go out to the wide view here. Farrah says no rain in Ormond, so there you go, right? So just, you know, again, just north of Daytona, you have no rain in Ormond. And the interesting thing is, we talked about that persistent rain, Flagler Beach, Palm Coast, north, but it's very elongated east to west and not north to south. And then just south of you, you have all of this. So you guys are in that one little area right now along the coast where you haven't seen a lot of rain. Amy says you guys have had zero rain. It's amazing because Titusville today has already had more than 4 inches of rain. Does show you how localized some of this can be, all right? And that can be the situation, you know, for the remainder of the day as well. And certainly, guys, Farrah, Amy living in Ormond Beach, you can get some rain coming back in, but some other areas of south of you have already had a much wetter start to the day than you guys had. Okay, does anyone have any specific questions about the forecast? 10 minutes of rain yesterday on the coast. I've had a lot of rain where I live. I think probably right around or above average, but it's just been almost consistently wet, right? You haven't had a lot of dry hours. And then the rain yesterday just lingered and lingered and lingered. We were trying to put up the Halloween decorations yesterday, and that didn't happen. You know, literally, I was like, all right, we might get a break. Opened the garage door, was about ready to start putting things up, and then it just came down again. I was like, all right, that's it, we're done. Getting late in the day, not even gonna try. Really what I tried to do is I tried to do it in the halftime of the Buccaneers game yesterday. And nope, I was like, that's it. I'm gonna watch the game, which was fantastic, by the way, if you're a Buccaneers fan, like I am. Okay, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. Here's what's gonna happen. Obviously, I'm going to be monitoring this situation, right? We're still going to get the impacts along the coast that I've mentioned for the remainder of the day. If there is any significant weather that would need me to come back on and cover it for you guys, I'll do that for today. You know, that could be either via the radar live stream or me jumping on live, or a combination of the two, right? That's the great thing about this channel and the digital weather universe, is I can, cover this as necessary and as needed. So, again, that's why I always tell you guys to have all notifications on from this channel as the bell icon. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing, but you want to make sure you keep up with the latest. Make sure you have the all notifications on. Again, I'm not going to inundate you with notifications. When I'm on live, there's obviously something important to talk about. If we don't need to come back on later today, we're likely to have a little bit calmer weather Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I'm always monitoring it. And then I'll see you guys Friday at 1 o'clock for CFLW show. Then we're going to have a lot more interesting weather to talk about as well, with, again, that potential tropical or subtropical low trying to develop off of our East Coast, which could be named Karen, how that could impact our weather over the weekend, which, again, if it develops where it might, could actually bring us some drier weather. But there's still a lot of, details in the weeds at this point in time. But that's the next thing I'll be looking out for. Obviously, if you've been impacted by this weather, our thoughts are with you guys. You have a question at any point in time, even if you're watching the recorded version of this, please feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Appreciate you guys taking a quick second on the way out, hitting the like button and subscribing. And please remember that CFLW is sponsored by the lien law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage, even a burst pipe, you've been in an auto accident, they can walk you through the insurance claim process. You want to support someone who supports the channel, I urge you guys to check out lienomnilaw.com if you guys would like more information. Thank you to all of my friends in the chat for jumping in. Thanks for all those who are watching as well. And again, always invite you guys to come join the live stream and our chat. I appreciate you thinking enough of this channel and of myself to take some of your Monday and sharing it with me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm back soon covering the weather for you here in Central Florida. Until then, my friends, take care.